We have big news. We have exciting news for you. Tell them what it is, Sareena.
We are super excited to announce that we are starting our first membership this January 2024.
Yay! Membership.
So we're excited to let you know that we will be hosting a monthly membership where when you join, you will be
with us live in a Zoom room once a month for a workshop like we just hosted. It's going to be a workshop like that, one topic each month, a different topic. You might even help us come up with the following month's topic from inside our membership. Super excited to meet you. It was so fun meeting a few of you in our inaugural workshop. So we're really looking forward to that.
And when you are a member, you will also be receiving a monthly newsletter where I'm going to be a little more intimate and I'll be sharing the things that are working and the things that aren't working for me.
Yeah, like taking a tool that you've learned from the podcast and how you're implementing it and how well that worked, or maybe if it didn't work. And then Amma can put in my 2 bits worth. We'll see how that goes. But a membership newsletter and a membership live Zoom room workshop starting in January 2024. Can sign up through our Patreon link in the show notes, yeah?
Yes, everything will be in the show notes, and we can't wait to see you there, listeners.
We can't wait. Yay!
Hey mamas, thanks for tuning into this week's episode. And today, as well as next week, because we divided it into 2 parts, I will be sharing with you 3 quote-unquote mistakes that I am making as a mother. And of course, we're going to have Amma shed some light upon what's really happening and how we can do our best to show up as nurturing parents, because that's what we're all here for, right? So I hope you can learn from my mistakes, and let's dig into it.
Hey, Mama, welcome to the Nurturing Parent Podcast. Do you want to end the constant battles for bath time? Do you find yourself emotionally exhausted at the end of the day? Do you wake up with big hopes for a smooth day of fun with your little ones, only to face an early morning meltdown because you peeled their banana the wrong way?
Silly you.
Silly you.
Hey, I'm Sareena. I'm a mama of 2 little ones, and as a new mama, I constantly questioned myself. I wanted to make sure I was raising respectful kids while also building a strong bond with them. But I discovered that I had to unlearn my ideas that punishment was the way. With Amma Lisa's encouragement, I've been practicing a respectful and gentle parenting approach, which is strengthening our bond as a family.
And hi, I'm Amma Lisa. Amma means grandmother in Icelandic. I am a mama and an Amma. And I have over 40 years of experience in childcare and parent coaching. And I am so excited to share the knowledge I've gained over these years with you.
Together in this podcast, each week we will explore some easy to implement skills you can add to your parenting tool belt to help you create a happy, thriving family. So today, I've really been dying to have this conversation, but I wanted to talk about the 3 mistakes that I've made as a mother, and I've just become more aware of it. And I'm also a big believer in learning from other people's mistakes. So I wanted to share them with you mamas in case you are making these mistakes and you're not realizing and you don't see how it affects you every day, because that's how I noticed it, how I was just stressed out, anxiety, and it just feels like your world is kind of collapsing when you're not paying attention to these things. Well, I'll just share them with you because then you'll probably understand. So the 3 things, the 3 mistakes that I've been making and that I've been learning to let go of are: 1, being in control of everything; 2, losing my cool with my babies; and 3, not being prepared for my day and just how that's going to look, feeding my kids, interacting with them, setting them up to play, nap time, just the whole day, and just waking up and just the day is a mess already because I don't know what it looks like. And we just get into breakfast and then everything is just like a cause and effect and it gets ugly real quick.
It cascades, right?
Yeah.
It's
So
cascading.
I wanted to share these things and I wanted Amma to bring her insight into how it affects us and what we can do better about it because it's hard. And these are some mistakes that we can learn from and do better and work on it every day. So,
All right. Well, the very first thing I want to say is they're not actually mistakes because we each bring our best possible game to the game of parenting when we become parents, the minute we become pregnant, really, right? And we can only do as good as we know how to do. We can only do as well as we know how to do. When we enter the realm of parenting, most of us are only bringing how we were parented, whether we thought it was great or whether we thought there's no way in heck I'm going to do what was done to me, right? We're going to do one or the other. So, if you are doing things that you wish you would do differently, that you're learning to do differently from listening to this and other podcasts and, doing your research and doing your learning, then congratulations, because that's where it starts. So I don't want you to be down on yourself. And I want to acknowledge you for acknowledging these ways that you can see could be done in more nurturing kinds of ways, right?
Mm-hmm.
So let's dive in and look at these 3 ways of being a mama in the mama world that you've noticed, are causing chaos and confusion and upset and
Stress, anxiety. Yeah.
all the stuff,
all,
all the
all the
stuff we
things.
don't want. All right. Wanting to control everything.
Yeah.
That's number 1. Tell us a little bit about what you mean by that. What did that look like? What kinds of specific things did you see you were wanting to control?
That really was me wanting to control silly things that really were not important, but I am a little, if you ask my family members, they might call me a little bit of a control freak. And, I like everything in its place, organized, and kids will teach you real quick that life isn't going to be like that for long. And so just things like my daughter wanting to take maybe her Play-Doh on a walk. And I'm like, no, Play-Doh stays here. It doesn't go for a walk. But then I'm like, why? Why does it matter if she wants to take her Play-Doh for a walk? It's not going to cause harm. It's not interrupting anything. There's not a problem with that.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember just wanting to control the situation, and that just sets me up for failure because those little things don't matter. If my daughter wants to bring her stuffed animal to the table, who cares? As long as she's eating her lunch or her dinner, let the stuffed animal sit there with her. Or sometimes she'd want to take toys in the shower, and toys don't go in the shower. We have our shower toys and you have your toys. But if it's a little plastic toy that can get wet, why not? Instead of having that fight, pick and choose your battles, bring the toy in the shower. Can clean it later and put it away later. It doesn't matter. So learning to let go of that. Yeah.
Awesome. Okay. So what I'm hearing is it was a lot about this wanting to control everything was a lot about the environment of your home and how, you wanted to allow or disallow your child to do things within the organizational neat and tidiness, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what you got, and I heard this very loud and clear, was that if it's not harmful to anyone or to anything, like it's not going to hurt that toy to go in the shower, it's not going to cause the Play-Doh to, I mean, there could be parameters. If a child wants to bring Play-Doh on a walk, okay, maybe they just got their Play-Doh for a gift from Amma. Maybe it's something new, or maybe they just have had so much fun with their Play-Doh. They really want to bring their Play-Doh on a walk. And like you say, it's not going to harm anything or anybody. You might want parameters like, okay, Play-Doh wants to come on a walk. Here's what I feel comfortable with is it stays in its bag or in its container. And if I see it coming out of the container, then we'll need to put the lid on or do the bag back up and pop it in my backpack. Because what I don't want is for us to lose the Play-Doh. What I don't want is for us to litter the streets with Play-Doh. And what I don't want is for the Play-Doh to get dirt and grime all over it. So it's still going to be good next time you want to play with it. So there might be parameters, but yay you for noticing that it's okay for Play-Doh to come on a walk. It's a little strange. It's a little like not what an adult brain would necessarily think was the thing to do with Play-Doh, but that's the joy and wonder of children's brains, is that they are outside the box.
Yeah.
They have not been put in the box yet.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And that's beautiful.
It
Who
is.
doesn't want your best friend Stuffy to be at the table when you're having a nice meal? My Stuffies, when I was a little girl, you guys, they were my best friends. I told them everything. I told them all my big stuff. They were my confidants. Like I loved they all had names, you know how it is. So yeah, bring your Stuffy to the table. So I love that you noticed somewhere along your parenting journey in the last, not even 3 years yet. Your oldest will be 3 in a couple of months. I noticed that you're seeing that you had these control issues, if you will, these desires to have all this control that was inappropriate when you stepped into motherhood. Some of us like to have our physical environment, our surroundings, our home, our bedroom, whatever it is, we want them neat and tidy and organized because it's a reaction to the chaos from our childhoods. If we grew up in chaos and maybe the house was neat and tidy, but the emotional state of our parent or parents was chaotic, or their behaviors, maybe there was drug or alcohol addiction, maybe there was parents leaving and coming back, like all the chaos that we grew up with can cause us to want to control what we can control, which is how neat and tidy our world is, our immediate world. So that's how you grow up. That's how I grew up. I became a very organized person. And like you, Sareena, when you have your first child, it's like, whoa, this might not be able to stay the same, or I'm going to be fighting with my child all the time about things that don't really matter. It's that, like you said, pick your battles. When I do this talk at parent groups, I call it pick your battles, pick your joys. So find the things to celebrate and choose. It doesn't matter if there's a Stuffy at the table. It's actually kind of cute.
Yeah.
It's really sweet, right? Okay, so wanting to control everything can come from a few places. One is that we have super high standards about how things have to be, which is your example. Everything has to be neat and tidy. It has to be put away as soon as you're done playing with it. That we just finished cleaning out the car. So no, you can't bring your toys into the car. Wait a minute. Maybe 3 toys do come into the car now. And those are the 3 toy cars at the moment, right? Car toys. Wanting to control can also come in the form of having really rigid rules. The boundaries that we've talked about are more than boundaries. They are rigid and firm, and you cannot, your clothes have to go in the hamper when you take them off. No, go back there and do that. That's rigid. Oh, I see your clothes ended up on the floor today. Oh, maybe I'll just pop them in the hamper tonight and you can do it again tomorrow. That's having a bit of flow in the boundaries that you've created, in the routines that you've created through the day. So rigidity, super high standards, also wanting to control inappropriately can come from expectations that are not age appropriate or stage appropriate. So you might be expecting your 1.5-year-old or your 2-year-old to go brush their teeth. Go brush your, we all have to brush our teeth at night. Now go brush your teeth. But no, they need your assistance. They need you to be there with them. They need you to be guiding them. So inappropriate expectations for ages and stages. And I wanted to just point out, like I often do, bringing it into our adult relationships. Think back to when you were single. If you dated someone who wanted to control everything you did, how you spoke to them or to other people, what clothes you wore, what kind of makeup you wore, what kinds of activities you did. If your boyfriend or girlfriend earlier in your life was trying to control all of those things, what would you want to do? Or what should
Leave.
you do? You
Leave.
want to leave,
Bye.
right? Like out of there. Don't walk, run.
Yeah.
Our children, if we are controlling people towards our children, they will have that same feeling, but obviously they can't leave. We are their caregivers. We're the ones who are, supporting their development. So it ends up being a really difficult situation. So let's look at what happens for a child when we are too controlling, just to give you that foundation of why we want to do things differently. The first one is when we demand behavior from them, they may, and they likely will, if they don't like getting in trouble or they don't like you yelling all the time or whatever it is that your reaction is, if they don't do it, they may start to do what you're telling them they have to do, like put their toys away in the basket immediately after they finish playing with them, as an example. But they may only do that when they are with you. When they go to daycare or school, they may resist doing any cleanup because you have made it such a strong controlling thing at home. Then they're going to have problems when they're out in the world, right? So if you want them to be polite, you're demanding and you're control. You say please and thank you right now, or you're not getting it. That's a controlling way to get them to say their pleases and thank yous. When they're not with you, they're not going to be the please and thank you kids in the room, right? Being very controlling creates dependency. Our children become dependent on us to make the decisions in their world. We want to create independent children, and we want to have interdependent relationships. But being very controlling creates growing dependency, which is the opposite of what children naturally are inclined towards. It can also really create difficulty in making decisions because you, the parent, are the one who's always making the decisions for your child. Now, if they have difficulty making decisions for themselves, think about how that might impact them as they grow older and become teenagers. If they cannot make decisions for themselves, they are much more in the line of being bullied or following peer pressure. Down roads we don't want our babies to go, right? They can look to others for guidance because you're the one guiding them. If you are controlling their every move, how they say things, what they do, when they do them, then they're going to look to others. And again, that can become dangerous.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. Basically, too, there's a low self-esteem and a low self-confidence that develops in children that are very living in a very controlled environment. It can lead to delinquency, and it does in many, many instances. It can lead to delinquency. It can also lead on the other side of that coin to really high demands that that child puts upon themselves to quote unquote succeed. They might be on the honor roll. They might be on the principal's list for, success through school, but it's this driven, I have to do this kind of thing. And that can lead, the anxiety and the kind of stress and stuff, right? And of course, our children can develop resentment towards us. They can become defiant and disrespectful. Being ordered about and controlled causes resistance to rise up. So those are all the reasons why it doesn't work and why we don't want to be the controlling parents. And have you got anything for that, Sareena?
It all makes sense, and it's kind of interesting because, when parents have a girl and a boy, usually they're a little more strict with the girl and a little more loose with the boy. And girls usually have a harder time making decisions. And when you were explaining it, I see how that really plays out in our society. It was just all made a lot of sense. And it's very interesting and very important to be aware of, because really there are some things that we don't need to control. I was definitely raised with, you're going to do it because I said so. Very rigid rules. And I see how that affects me now.
Yeah, like we've said before, becoming a parent, we didn't know that part of the job description was doing our own healing from our own childhood wounds.
Oh yeah.
and that's what we're looking at here, right?
Yes.
I laugh. It's not easy, you guys. I apologize. It can be really challenging and wanting to become the best, most supportive, nurturing parent that you can be.
Yeah.
You will come across parts of yourself that you need to work on and heal, and you can. We do.
It's empowering when you can realize how your childhood affected you and how you want the best for your kids.
Yeah,
that's why you're here, nurturing mamas. So
yeah. All right, what can we do instead? So let's take an example. You talked a lot about things being neat and tidy and where they go and put away after you play with them. So let's say that your toddler, your preschooler isn't, whatever age your child is, they're not putting their things away after they're done playing. So one of the things that can be helpful is to, not in the heat of the moment, we need to remember not to do the things in the heat of the moment because we're not going to be at our best when we're upset about something. But before that next basket of toys gets dumped all over the floor, you could move in and say, I noticed that is a good opening. I noticed that when that basket gets dumped all over the floor and all those toys come out and they're all over the room, there seems to be a problem in them all going back in the basket when it's time. And that's not working for me. So, you might not want toys all over the house. That's okay. And not being rigid about when it has to happen and how it has to happen. And the level of orderliness in your house when you have toddlers and little ones and older children too. The level of orderliness can sway a little, right, Sareena?
Yes.
Yeah, it needs to. But offering a child, what do you need in order to be successful at cleanup time? How can I support you? What would you need? Would it help to set the timer so that, you can see how many of the toys can go in the first minute that you set the timer for. Sometimes it's fun to put on a dance song and say, let's pick up all the blocks. Let's put all the Dolly's things away on this song. Let's, put all the art stuff away. Let's put all the crayons away during this song. So finding a way to make it successful for them. You can give them a few ideas, like using the timer, using a song, doing a dance break in between everything. And if you can also suggest to the child that if they don't do it, if they don't manage to be successful, even with these suggestions, what would be helpful then? How can I support you if it's not happening? Or what do you think would be a consequence of not getting this job done that we need to get done before we go to bed tonight? And give our children opportunities to show up as part of the solution, not just the problem. And another thing here is if it's tidying their room, say, like sometimes that's a big job.
Mm-hmm.
And they may just go in there and get distracted and start playing with something new. And, it's like bedtime in half an hour. What is going on? Why aren't you tidying your room? Well, I already put away such and such. So what we need to do is we need to observe. Oh, I see that all the Dolly's clothes have been picked up and put where they go. Awesome. Which part do you want to do next? So acknowledging what has to happen next. So I'm just using the tidy up as my example here. And this could come and play these, I notice that such and such is happening. What do you need? What kind of support do you need in order to be successful? And if you don't do that such and such, what would be a reasonable consequence? Giving our children a feeling of control over what needs to happen can be really helpful. So they're getting some control. We're easing off on our end of the controlling stick, and they're picking up their control.
Mm-hmm.
And acknowledging what has been done when there are big jobs like that have to be done can be helpful. Really, really helpful. Because, if you're say you've got a big tidy up to do in the kitchen and you've been clearing off the table and putting all the food stuff away and you've got all the dishes piled up on the counter and somebody comes in and goes, oh my gosh, the kitchen is still a mess.
Mm.
It doesn't feel so good, right?
No.
So I noticed that the table's been cleared off and all the food's been put away and all the dishes are sitting on the counter ready to wash. You're like just noticing what you see. That can be really, really helpful. And also, if you're noticing that you have this tendency to control, overly control, is really trying to see the world through your child's eyes. That can be really helpful. So if your child wants to take Play-Doh on a walk, where might that be coming from in them? Did they just get the Play-Doh? It's a new toy. Are they just taking different things on all the walks on different days? Why do they maybe want to have that stuffy come to the table for lunch? Have they been playing with their stuffies all morning? Are they feeling a little sad about something or a little vulnerable about something and the stuffy is their little friend? Kind of really try to look through your children's eyes and see what might be there for them. Remembering that children actually want to cooperate, that's part of what makes us human, is we want to do what needs to be done to be an accepted member of the family, the clan, the tribe, the village. We need for our survival. That's the instinctual piece is for survival. We need to cooperate with the people around us. So that's actually at the core for our children. You may not believe that because that might not be how it looks in your household. And that's because we're, throwing cogs in the wheel with perhaps our controlling stuff. All right. I don't know. I hope that some of that helped with alleviating the parental control piece when it's over the top.
Yes.
I went off onto a bit of very specifics because I feel like, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I do feel like giving some specific examples can help. And if you can transpose that example into other areas where you've been controlling things, then I think that might be helpful too.
I agree, and I think it helps open up our eyes to what we are doing to our kids when we just are just wanting to control everything because of what we've suffered from, and we don't want to cause that in our kids. So if we see how that's affected us and why we're portraying those behaviors, we want to do better for our kids.
Mm-hmm.
All right, now you understand why this is a 2-part episode. And I promise you the next one isn't as long, but there was a lot of info there because, there's so much about control, just how it affects our kids, the healing that we're doing from our childhood, and how we can try to change it and why it is so important to change it. So to share with you my gems, number 1 is a reminder that if it's not harmful to anyone or anything, just give some parameters and allow some flow. You don't want to be rigid. So, like the example we shared, my daughter Andrea, she loves her Play-Doh and she loves her kinetic sand. And if it's not played with at the table and the pieces fall on the floor, my little one Aniston can eat it and then it will become harmful. So the rules are it stays in the bags, and the consequence is if it comes out of the bag, then mommy has to put it away. Number 2 is the joy and wonder of children's brains is that they are outside of the box. So a reminder to look at the world from their eyes, and that's the most beautiful thing, is that they haven't been put in the box yet like us. So just taking that moment and looking at things through their eyes, if Play-Doh is so exciting, just admire that and see the beauty in it. See the beauty in them wanting to play with the toys that you're able to give them. If she wants to bring her toys in the shower, as long as it's not going to get ruined, just take that moment to be happy that she does want to play with the toys that you've gotten her, because there's so many toys that they ask you for that they never play with. Number 3 is also the reminder that if you were in a controlling relationship, or if you saw your child in a controlling relationship, what would you advise them to do? Get out of that relationship. So let's not create that relationship for us and our kids. It's not healthy. And then the 4th one, which really brought it home for me, is that if you are controlling, you can cause your child to have difficulty in making decisions. And if that happens, they're going to be more likely to fall into peer pressure, and that's very scary to me. So I want to make sure that I'm empowering my child, like Amma said, giving them the opportunity to be the solution and not only the problem. And that can be very empowering, that can increase their confidence, and that's what we want for our kids, so that we have faith that they are going to make the best decisions, and we don't want to stunt that growth. So let's empower our kids. Pick and choose your battles, mamas. So good luck, and thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next week.
Hey, Mama.
Thank you for being here with us.
Okay, how cute was that? Thanks for being here with us. Hit subscribe to get notified.
And hey, did you get anything out of this episode? I know I did. Show some love and send it to your mama friends to bless their day too.
And before you run and change that diaper, take 5 seconds and leave us a review saying how much you love us. You'll be helping other mamas find us. Did you know that? And hopefully find answers to the questions that are keeping them awake at night.
And If you screenshot your review and DM it to us, you will be entered to win a 1-hour coaching call at a discounted price with Amma Lisa.
I can't wait to chat with you. Come hang out with us in our Facebook group or on Instagram. Just click the links in the show notes and you can direct message us anytime. We would love to chat with you.
We also have a buy me a coffee option for a fun way that you can support this podcast for just as much as you care to give. Just click the show support link in our show notes. Thank you. See you next week.